the May Board of Education meeting together. So everybody will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I see Casey is joining us through Zoom, and Jared and Nathan are both, I think, doing rec games.
Casey, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good deal.
Okay. We will start with public communications. We have two patrons that want to address the board. The first one is Steph Hellman. So you have the floor. You're welcome to step forward.
So I'm going to read my speech, so bear with me because I hate public speaking. This is very uncomfortable for me. I've spent countless hours thinking about masks, researching masks, and praying about masks, including praying that our school board members could see the damage that masks are doing to our children, especially grade school children. And finally, it dawned on me that our perspectives are different. 4 school board members don't even have children that attend circle schools. As a parent, that seems wrong to me. Wrong in the sense that you are voting on policies that affect kids at circle that have no effect personally on your lives. Here are a few differences of perspective. You're not listening to a 4-year-old cry every day about having to wear a mask and ask you, Mommy, can you please call my teacher and ask her, tell her that I don't have to wear it? And most recently proclaim that he doesn't like school and he doesn't want to go back because his first experience with school, including masks, and he can't do it. He can't. I pulled him out of preschool because he can't handle it. You don't have to see the defeat and slumped shoulders from your 8th grader as you pull up to drop him off every day because he knows he'll be stuck in a mask all day. You don't have to deal with the anxiety that kids are experiencing from grade school to high school that makes them want to just stay home and not have to deal with the world around them. Or worse, think this world has no place for them in it. You have no idea what you're doing to families in the school district and our kids, and it makes me wonder why. Do you only care about the kids whose parents agree with your masking policy? Do the others not matter? I was under the understanding that the position you are elected to was to make decisions about the education and enrichment of circle children. You know, Thrive and 375. I listened to school board members talk about how grade school kids could get older, high-risk adults sick if they went mask-free. When did that become the board's responsibility? When did the adults in this community become more important than our kids? I listened to another school board member say he removed his kids from the Circle School District because he didn't want to be held to the policies established by the majority. I guess that majority was okay when he was elected, but not okay when it comes to unmasking our kids. When is it going to be enough? What is the threshold that needs to be met to unmask our kids? I think it's a fair question that most parents would like to know the answer to. Jake Myers posed it at the last board meeting and nobody would or could answer it. I'm asking for an answer. We have plenty of metrics and policies in place regarding COVID restrictions. Why can't we have a written policy regarding releasing them? We have been told as early as last summer that the school board's hands are tied by the Kansas Health Department, but that simply isn't true. Butler County untied your hands last year, and Central County followed suit in March this year. The health department has given recommendations, not mandates or requirements, recommendations. Flint Hills is a prime example of a school that polled parents at the beginning of the school year and let parents decide whether to mask their kids or not. They had no more or less quarantines than Circle did. They shut down at times, sometimes just a classroom at a time, just like Circle did. They did not see any major outbreaks or allowing parents to make the masking decision for their kids. Our kids have followed your rules. We as parents have followed your rules while attending sporting and school events. The science doesn't back masking kids anymore. It never really did. This virus is minuscule compared to the fabric of a mask. To put it in perspective, this virus could be compared to a golf ball and a mask to a chain link fence. A golf ball can easily pass through a chain link fence, just like this virus can easily pass through a mask. Studies have been done comparing the spread of the virus in states that did and did not have mask mandates in place. They found that the results were the same. Texas even saw a decrease in cases when they released their mask mandates. The Canadian Medical Association Journal recently published the infectivity of severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2 in children compared with adults. Their study found that kids 17 years or younger were half as likely than adults to have culturable COVID-19. meaning that less viable virus was present, half as likely. And kids aged 1 to 10 were significantly less likely than the kids aged 11 to 17. According to the CMAJ, these findings are consistent with epidemiological, that's a big word, studies that show limited SARS-CoV-2 spread from children younger than 10 years old. They also stated a meta-analysis showed that kids have a lower susceptibility to COVID and may not drive community transition to the same degree as adults. So the reasoning used at the last board meeting seems to be inaccurate. This study seems to point to the fact that adults are far more likely to spread COVID than kids. Families like mine need to make a decision about whether to stay and endure arbitrary policies or move on to a different school district. It's not just about masks anymore. It's about teachers bad-mouthing parents on Facebook. It's about political positions being pushed in our classrooms. It's about fear and propaganda being pushed on our kids over a virus that has a 99.9 survival rate. It's about a speech teacher telling a parent during an IEP meeting that her child would not be masked during speech and proceeding to mask him anyway because she's afraid. Why have parents become the enemy? We have been told we cannot enter circle schools because we could spread COVID. We have been ignored when we showed up to school board meetings to express our concerns. We have been given a survey regarding masks and have the results ignored by members of the school board who essentially told parents they know better than we do. Parents' rights have been trampled this school year and our kids are paying the price. Kansas statute 60-5305 states, nothing in this act shall be construed to impair the fundamental right of every parent to control the care and custody of such parents' minor children, including but not limited to control over education, discipline, religious and moral instruction, health, medical care, welfare, place of habitation, counseling, and psychological and emotional well-being of such minor children as set forth by the laws and the Constitution of the state of Kansas and of the United States. The school does not have the right to make health decisions for minors. The statute states that God-given right belongs to parents. The school's authority to enforce masks on minors directly contradicts what our state constitution says. BOE district policy also states that an educational administrator must obey local, state, and national laws. Circle's mask policy directly conflicts with parents' constitutional rights, the right to protect my children's health and emotional well-being. I believe the root of what is being pushed on Circle families is a fear of a virus. As a Christian, I believe that I am fearfully and wonderfully made, that my Creator knows the number of hairs on my head and the number of days that I will live on this earth. All of those things were decided even before I came to be. I choose to believe that God's plan over my life and my kids' life is sovereign. I will not live in fear, and neither will my kids. My family is not afraid, and neither are many other families in this school district. The benefits of unmasking our kids outweigh the risks. It's time to give parents back their rights to make health decisions for our kids. Masks are a health decision that were never the school board's to make. The state has released you from that responsibility. I believe it is time for our school district to use common sense when it comes to our kids and unmasked students before they are irreparably damaged. What's the threshold to remove masks from my kid's face? And when will a decision be made regarding masks for the 2021-2022 school year? Thank you.
Thank you.
Aaron Paul, did I say your name correctly?
So this is my first board meeting. I'm pretty excited to be here. My name is Aaron Paul. I've got two daughters that are in the Circle School District. And obviously the topic of masks came up and it's been a hot topic all year. First, I'll say I respect everybody's position and all the different elements that you bring to the board. Is this a Q&A or is it just an opportunity for me to talk, or is there dialogue back and forth?
It's an opportunity for you to talk.
Okay,
I mean, just like Ms. Common, I mean, she asked questions at the end
but
and,
there's no,
but
okay.
there's no,
So, yeah, so, and again, this is my first time, so excuse me for being ignorant, but again, Stephanie did a wonderful job of laying it out, putting it out there. You know, we do what we can as parents, but the day in, day out, repetitive piece of why do I have to wear a mask? Again, what I'm wanting to understand is what studies, what case studies are you looking at to make a decision whether for or against? At the end of the day, numbers lie, dollars use numbers, right? But there's so many different case studies out there that will sway an individual one way or the other. I don't want to get political, and I sure as hell don't want to get personal, right? But we have to be objective when we look at this. And at the end of the day, we have to understand that common sense has to be one of the key factors. When I pick my kids up, my youngest daughter up from school, and whether she goes to Thunderbirds and has a soda or a shake with her friends, or she goes to the playground, all the kids that have had a mask on and have to maintain social distancing during the course of the day, I guarantee you, as soon as they walk out of the school, the masks are off, they're arm in arm, they're sharing drinks, they're grabbing the same toys, there's spit going on everything, and they're all together. And to think that that's not happening during the course of the day, how can you truly be consistent with this mandate of saying we need to continue to do it? I like watching the Facebook Lives that Terry Turner, yep, I'm pretty close to that, right? Puts out on Facebook. Mr. Taylor had a good video in his classroom. I think he does a fantastic job. But it's amazing when you pan around with that Facebook Live and they're doing something, you think every kid has a face mask on? No. Do you think the teachers always have it up, wearing it properly to make sure that there's no transmission or anything getting out? Absolutely not. Again, what cases are being utilized? As Stephanie mentioned, what's that threshold need to be? And at the end of the day, I ask, with everything I have for my family and everybody else's family, to please utilize some common sense. When you look at the kids that are leaving the school and when they're even in school, I'm telling you now, they're not on all the time. It's not consistent. And I implore you to make the right decision for our kids. And lastly, as Stephanie mentioned, when will a decision be made? Because we as parents have to make decisions getting ready. This year's so, right? We've got 3 weeks. We're trying to make the best of it. We want to finish on a strong note, but we are making decisions along with a lot of other parents on, is Circle USD really the place for us going into next year? So that's the other part. Is it going to be on the agenda for this month and the months going forward? But when is the decision going to be made? That way we can make decisions that are going to impact our family. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate both parents addressing the board this evening. We will move on to the approval of the agenda. There have been a couple of changes to it. Under superintendent's report, G8, G8 will be navigating change. And then under new business, item I5 will be SB40, hearing officer. Are those the two changes?
Hearing officer appointment.
Hearing officer
Yeah.
appointment.
Mhm.
Okay, so with those amendments, I seek a motion to approve the agenda as amended
So moved.
by Ben,
I'll second that.
second by Jake.
Hi, Casey.
5-0. We will move on to the consent agenda. Are there any questions on the consent agenda, or was there anything, Mr. Potter, that you were needing to
No.
discuss?
Nope.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board members? Okay, then I seek a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. So moved by Christie,
Second.
second by Ben. All those in favor?
Hi, Casey.
Motion passed 5-0. We will move on to the treasurer's report.
Okay. Treasurer's report. Okay, our tax balances, the tax summary, our tax balances are looking good. The BOE spreadsheet, the budget worksheet, our expenditures where we compare to prior year, those are looking as expected. I printed out the projections for current year, and those are looking really good, so that we can move forward and be able to move into negotiations for next year. We'll be prepared for that.
Mhm.
Dawn, did you have anything that you wanted to?
I was just gonna add, I think the projections and echo that things are looking good financially to end the year. I suspect that, you never know, but my expectation is this is a pretty conservative estimate
Yes.
on ending year expenses. So I expect that to move up a little bit. We'll see. You just never know with unexpected things that might come, but it is looking really good at this particular point. One other item I'd like to note involving financial is the ESSER funds and ESSER 2. We're working kind of behind the scenes on some plans for additional staff for assisting students for learning loss and that kind of stuff due to the pandemic with those federal dollars. And the problem is right now, it's tough to find those people. And so we're working some plans together, and we will be updating you in June in regards to those plans moving forward for August. So, but as far as the projections are concerned, I'm really pleased with how this fiscal year is ending up.
I know we were kind of sitting on the capital outlay budget, Michael, because
Yep.
we weren't certain, like with the bond, would it pass, would it not pass? Now that it has passed, are you looking to spend some of the capital outlay besides like what you had on the agenda this evening?
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's one new item on the agenda this evening, and then, we've talked in the past about working towards, transportation and trying to get, updated more, buses. Right now, the supply chain is pretty backed up, so I'm not sure I'm gonna be bringing something to you in the very near future, but probably in the fall, I'll have an update on that. We also have a few outstanding things that we have, some building issues that will be coming more in deferred maintenance type of categories that we'll need to look at and address. One of those was the boiler at CTI that we talked about a little bit last meeting.
Speaking of that, we purchased a bus earlier in the year that we're not quite sure when that's gonna come.
It's still in the supply line, yeah.
So we haven't heard anything on that. We're hoping October, November. I mean, usually in a normal year, it's September, August, right?
Well, normally we would have it over the summer on a normal year,
Okay.
so
Was
we'll
that
see.
something we need to go ahead and get moving on the next one then, to get our name in the hat, if it's gonna be this long of a wait?
Well, it could be. I think that they will, I could be wrong on this, but they should be able to catch up, if we order next year and then we start updating the fleet. We have to look at it to make sure, ideally what we try to get to is what you're saying, 2 buses a year to get it to where we have no buses older than 7, 8 years, so we can take advantage of the depreciation
part of
expense that comes from that. So that could be something we definitely look at.
But Jake, I think I probably will push that up to order it earlier in the cycle next year. But that's something we'll look at as we get a little bit further down the supply chain. I don't really want to get one in next May and then it sit all summer either. So
I
We'll
just
try
know
to gauge
industry
that.
wide, it's hard to get stuff right now in
It
all
is.
industries, so it's something to definitely keep you back.
Absolutely.
we'll do.
And you're ordering one bus then?
One is already ordered.
We have
One's
one
already
already
ordered.
ordered for this year. Next year, we'll probably try to look at doing 2 now that the bond is passed and we may be able to free up some of those dollars that we were waiting on some maintenance issues.
Any other questions on the treasurer's report? Take a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented
So moved.
by Jen,
Sorry about
okay, second by Jake. All those in favor, 5-0. Sorry,
Aye,
Casey, if you
Casey.
said- if you seconded that, I didn't hear it, so sorry. I'm not ignoring you. Moving on to administrative reports starting with the principal athletic director reports.
Yep, that's included in your packet. Really busy season right now with regionals and closing out seasons and that kind of stuff. Field trips for our elementary, they're heading out in a lot of different areas throughout, regionally here. for field trips. So a lot of busy things going on with transportation, but, and then also, we'll talk about here in a little bit of a graduation promotion, those kind of things that are happening. There's some really good stuff in here. Take a look at it if you get a chance.
Then the superintendent's report, Butler County, yeah, how old I am.
We got Lori Winningham here. Heather Rickenbaugh had some family issues, and so she had to attend to that tonight. So Lori, thank you for being here to discuss with us the Kansas Promise Act.
Yes, so thank you very much for letting us come speak for a few minutes. I don't know how many of you have heard that on April 23rd, Governor Kelly approved the $10 million Kansas Promise Scholarship Act. What that means is that it is a last dollar program or scholarship that will assist students with tuition, fees, books, and other required course materials. Right now, it has identified 5 major program areas or clusters. The 5 for all colleges across the state, as far as community colleges and technical colleges, are information technology and security, mental and physical health care, advanced manufacturing and building trades, early childhood education, and then each college is allowed to pick a program of their choice. Right now, and this is just tentative, Butler's probably going to lean towards fire science or education. So we'll know more next week what our 5th program will be, or cluster. We have sent a number of spreadsheets to KBOR and clarifying various things, and so there's kind of some final approvals that KBOR will be granting. Now, who's going to benefit from this? This is for Kansas who have graduated from high school in the last 12 months. It will also include adults that are 21 or older and who have lived in Kansas for 3 or more consecutive years. Some military dependents may also be eligible. There's some requirements around that. And then current and new students can qualify if they're enrolling in one of the eligible program tracks and taking 6 or more credit hours. They will have to fill out the financial aid federal form. And this is considered a last dollar scholarship, which means once all other scholarships and financial aid are applied, if there's a gap, this Kansas Promise Act scholarship will cover the difference. So for some students, it can be a significant amount of money for them to go to school. So I will stop there. Butler is working very hard to get information out. We already do have a website that has some general information, so I will give you that website. You can go to butlercc.edu/Promise Act. And once we get our 5th program selected, we'll add that to the information out there. I'll stop there and see if you have any questions.
So on the 10 million that is allocated, is it basically first come, first serve, like once, like how are they with all the
We
different
don't know all
colleges?
those particular details yet.
Okay.
This was put together very quickly, and the Kansas Board of Regents actually wasn't even involved in what the legislature did. So there are a lot of questions that we're still asking for clarification on. You know, once the 10 million is done, is whoever's next in the queue out of luck, or will they go ahead and allocate some additional dollars? Our thought right now is that since it's a last dollar scholarship, other financial aid will be applied first, but we hope that the first year as it starts to gain momentum, the 10 million will cover it. But there's no way to anticipate across the state how many students are going to step up and want to do this.
And each college doesn't get like a certain amount, basically.
It is,
It's about.
I would encourage you to have your high school counselors working with your high school students that might be interested in this to really get their FAFSA done early and get their application in and identify which of the programs they're interested in.
So if we have current students that are enrolled in those programs at Butler now, they can actually apply for next year. And will
Yes, they
that
can.
be something that Butler reaches out to our kids to say, hey, there's an opportunity
Are
for
you talking
you?
about currently enrolled at Butler?
Yes,
Yes, we are sending, information to students, but we wanted to get this information out to the local USDs, so you can help get students who aren't
Absolutely.
enrolled yet in the pipeline.
Very good.
And
It's a
you
great opportunity.
You thought by the end of the week you would know whether it's fire science or education.
Well, it's just kind of up in the air. I mean, we get a deadline, we submit all of our information, we have, till the end of the week to get some additional information submitted. And, you know, Cable will look at it, and they've got to look at 19 other colleges across the state, so it's not an instant thing. So we just found out Friday what the additional information were they were requesting from us, so we're pulling those items this week, put it in the spreadsheet and getting it submitted. We have a meeting in the morning to get some of our questions answered as well, because sometimes the directions are not as clear as people might think. Imagine that. Well, I think it's a great opportunity. I also wanted to let you know that some of the data that we've looked at shows that community college students outperform technical colleges. And Butler Community College sits right here in your backyard. And I really encourage students, they could live at home if they chose to. In the manufacturing and tech area, we'll have our construction technology program that we just launched, brand new. And we'll have welding technology, and demand for jobs in those areas are very high. Students come out of those programs, sometimes they want to go work before they're done with the program. And our construction technology is brand new, so some real opportunities. Cybersecurity, any of the IT areas, lots of opportunity there as well. Childcare was put on the list, not because it's high wage, but it's an essential career field for people to be able to work. I think the pandemic has also shown the need there for employers, as well as the need from the family perspective.
How do you guys market these kids once they're done?
Once they're done at Butler?
Yes.
Or what?
How do you market the kids that attend Butler in these programs to potential?
Well, we have a lot of industry involvement with our advisory committees. We are really growing our internship programs, so a lot of kids will get in an internship. We're folding that into more and more of our career and tech ed areas so that they get a taste for it and the employer gets to kind of try that student out. That's going to be very important in our construction technology program. The faculty also have a lot of connections. And like I said, sometimes we'll have kids that won't even get through all the curriculum. They're trying to get recruited away. That happens quite a bit in welding and sometimes in our auto tech program. So, what other questions?
Well, I don't know if this is a question, but I'm gonna advocate that you pick education as your fifth ed. So that we can get some more teachers in the area.
And so Heather will be reaching out to our counselors in regards to this to start
Yes.
marketing that. Good. Okay. And I will too. I mean, we'll talk to our principals and counselors and that kind of
And I'm
stuff.
happy to leave my card here tonight. If you have folks that want to, email me. Heather is our dean over high school partnerships, but I'm always happy to answer questions as well. I've been at Butler for almost 30 years, so here's a few of my cards.
Thank you.
Feel free to email me, and if we don't have the answer, we'll certainly try to chase it down.
Okay.
Sometimes answers come a little slow from Topeka. You guys work with Topeka too, so.
Thank
Thank you,
so much.
Laura.
Thanks,
All
Laura.
right,
Take
have a
care.
good evening.
The next item on the agenda is graduation and 8th grade promotion.
Okay. Graduation is May 22nd at 1:30. There are 8 tickets per graduate. Our principals at the high school have been working with Butler County Health Department to come up with safety precautions and those kind of things to go with it. But, you know, one of the things that we have planned with the board approval is, what we would like to see is on the floor, we'd like to see all of our senior graduates spaced out accordingly with mask optional when they graduate. And then the audience will, of course, be required to mask, but our students who are spaced out on the floor, seniors going up to get their diploma, would be without masks. Then I don't know how we want to move forward with board members. Usually we have all board members there up on the stage. I don't know how we want to, it's kind of a discussion item at this point, how we want to handle that. If we want all board members up there, I'm certainly fine with that, but I just wanted to kind of have a discussion around some of those requirements for graduation and or plans. So thoughts on that to start off?
Oh, and graduation is going to be held in the gym?
In the gym.
In the gym.
Okay, why not the football field? The gym is a secondary.
One of the things that I know our principals did is met with seniors and went through and asked them where would they rather have it, and the gym was the majority where they wanted to have it.
Well, the reason I bring this up is because I think you're going to have a lot of parents that are not going to abide by this masking in the gym. So if we make it outside where everybody can go as they please, we can kind of keep the peace, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and certainly I don't know, I can't speak for anybody. I mean, but those are going to be the requirements. Are we going to be kicking people out and that kind of stuff? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But that was one of the things that we wanted to do for the kids. The majority had said, hey, they want it kind of normal, you know, and I respect that.
How's the handing out of the diplomas, is that gonna be same procedure as always, or is that gonna be handled a little differently? Did you say that, or?
I didn't, I haven't specifically talked to Matt or Tony about this, but I would assume it'd be similar, as they go across, get their picture, go back to their seat. I think it'd be similar to normally what they've done in the past.
It seems to me it's kind of doing it normal, like, I mean,
Right.
the Board of Education and be up there and participating.
Certainly fine with that. I just didn't know what you guys wanted to do and how that worked out, but we can definitely, plan for that.
That's my 1-7 opinion, so.
Sure, I understand that. I get that.
I agree with you, Ben. I think we need to try to do this as normal as possible. This has been a complete different show all year, and try to, at the end of this, let's try to go out somewhat normal. So.
Yeah, agree. And so we're okay with, students spaced out on the floor, our graduates, optional
We have
masks.
enough room to do that and accommodate all the parents and the grandparents that want to come.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, with 8 tickets apiece, and
Yeah.
then if they're leftover tickets, you know, there's potential.
What have we done in the past as far as tickets?
It's been taken based on, capacity
Depends on
and the number of
class size.
students you have and that kind of stuff. I know when my daughter graduated here a few years ago, they had a large class and ticket size was small. I mean, it just kind of depends on the size of the class. Some I think have had upwards to 12. I can't even remember what ours,
I think 12 is about as large as we normally
what
go.
mine was, but
But again, that depends on the class size.
anywhere from 8 to 10, I think is a pretty average number. In the past, of course, my short 4 years here, I mean, so that's a pretty good number. We'll be,
I mean, are we expecting to graduate?
130 some, 140, right in there. This time of year, it's sometimes touch and go with a few, but they'll get it.
So will we be part of handing it out, shaking hands and everything like that?
Mhm.
I mean, I'm okay with it, but.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
because this is a school event and it would be different than what our navigating change is, do we need? I mean, we're following the social distance, the mitigation of the social distance, so it is following
Right.
that, so.
I think it does follow our navigating change document that if, we can social distance,
Okay,
we're fine with that.
you don't need any action on this.
No, just, making sure that we're okay to, I didn't want any board members coming to the graduation with surprises, just, especially, we are trying to make it as normal as possible, under the current situation, so. And I really want our seniors to have the opportunity to not have the mask on when they walk across the stage, the pictures, receiving their diploma, that kind of stuff.
What's the capacity of our gymnasium?
What is it, Mr. Jansen?
About 1,800.
So we're gonna be 800 shy of capacity.
It's gonna be full of.
Okay.
I mean,
I don't think we need to turn away anybody that wants to see their,
But we've
Child
always
or
had
grandchild.
ticket limitations.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying there's an extra 800 tickets there that we could fill, especially if we're going by the recommendations of the county. Masking.
the county didn't approve for us to fill it to capacity.
But if you're masking and everybody is masked in the gymnasium, you can do whatever you want. It's no different than walking into the school. Am I thinking correctly?
well, they've approved us to a certain number of capacity. And I'd have to talk to Mr. Carroll on that. He's been working with them, but the gym at that number, and of course, who knows if all the tickets would be given out, honestly, but, it'd be full. At 140 times 8,
In the
that'd be
past,
full.
we also used the floor in the past, and this year we won't have that because the seniors will be spaced out pretty much on the entire floor.
But
So we're cutting out.
The 1,800 is just in the seats, correctly? That's not including the floor. That's what I'm saying.
Which in a capacity, you're not including the floor anyway.
All I'm getting at is we're at about 1,080. We're allowing 1,080 patrons to come in to watch at 8 tickets a piece at 135 students.
Mhm.
So you're 800 shy is what I'm getting at. I just don't want to see anybody get turned away to watch their student or grandchild graduate. So just something to think about. I'm throwing that out there because you're giving me numbers. So I'm throwing them
Yeah,
out.
well, I understand that. And I think that, even during normal times, when, from a personal experience, we had to turn people away. I didn't have enough tickets to give to my family. I mean, so it just it's an ebb and flow type of thing. And I get it. And we'll work with people, if we need to, without a doubt. I can't imagine. And like I said, I'd have to talk to Mr. Carroll on this, but I don't know, there's some that maybe don't use all the tickets. And, I don't know how they usually handle that, but I think that in the past, I could be wrong, that students could move those around a little bit.
There have been some tickets that students didn't ever pick up in the office, and then those would be granted out to those who needed them.
And what about 8th grade promotion?
It'll be held on, May 25th. There'll be 2 sections of that, 12:15 to 1 and a 1:30 to 2:15. That will be held at the middle school on those 2 days, or those 2 times on that particular day. And they're planning for that as well.
I think typically board's been business casual
Mhm.
on 8th grade promotion.
Mhm.
And I guess if the board members can just let Mr. Potter know, like, which ceremonies you can attend.
Do you want us all at the high school, I'm assuming?
That would be, unless there's a conflict, that would be great.
And what about the 8th grade promotion? How's that normally?
8th grade promotion, we've had fewer there normally, just because of times and that kind of stuff and conflicts, but we usually have 3 or 4 at 8th grade promotion. So if that works in your schedule, certainly we'd love to have everybody at each one of them, but if it doesn't, we
I'm
understand.
fine on being.
Okay. All right.
Me too. I'll be
Okay.
there.
Somehow my schedule's kind of full.
Freed up a little bit.
Rub it in.
Yeah.
I'll keep doing that.
Appreciate that.
Okay, any other questions on graduation or eighth grade promotion? Okay, bond project update.
Okay, a lot of moving parts here, with the bond project. One, as you know, we had a rating meeting, last week. Supposedly, we will be receiving that rating, sometime this week, maybe even as early as tomorrow. We had a due diligence meeting regarding the preliminary official statement, which includes all of the numbers and, the rates and all of that stuff. Has to do with, credit rating as well. And, we're a lot of different paperwork happening right now. I think one document as I was looking through, it was like, I don't know, 40, 50 some pages of just technical jargon that I was like, whoa, but, that's a good thing. Things are going well, as I said in the rating meeting before. We feel like that our rating is going to be stable, kind of what we expected. We're hoping we have a slight chance for a slight upgrade, which would be really nice. The hesitancy for a district our size is just having, coming off of a bond issue and stacking on another one, but there's no fear from, the rating agency that, we can pay that, of course. So, we're in great shape there, but really positive call, really productive in my opinion. And they really, applauded our district for, in our communities, for what we have here. So pretty rare. Plans are underway right now for the middle school shelters and, the Oil Hill Elementary preschool room, and also the renovations of the restrooms. The plan on that is to break ground this summer, for those two projects, work into the fall. Meetings with staff next week, or is it next week?
Next week.
Next week, meeting with staff at, CGE and Towanda Elementary to get some feedback on the expansion of their buildings. And then, they'll start designing those over the summertime and start working some in the fall and in the winter. And then during the fall, we'll meet with, Benton, teachers, staff, patrons to help us design, the middle school, the, elementary over there. And then they'll start working on the design of that and go from there. So that's kind of the order of the projects right now, the preliminary order, and how that will go.
And the Unified Services building would be the last thing then, or the last project to be designed.
One thing that I failed to mention when I said, plans underway for middle school shelters, as long as we, stay into the square footage that was proposed. Like we had kind of talked before, we might have one, we might have two. We kind of decided on having two, for the expansion of additional classrooms when needed later on. Each one of those are going to be about a 2,500 square foot storm shelter. So, we're definitely excited about getting those underway and breaking ground this summer. So I'll keep you updated on that, through the Friday updates of our rating and those kind of things as they come about. But, the last I heard, we'll turn around once the rating has happened. We'll go for the sale of bonds, which, it is potential that, the special meeting on the bond business, which would, I guess, I'll get down to that in a minute, so I won't mess with that. But, yeah, we're just gonna be meeting with designing architects, Simpson and that kind of stuff after we get the financial stuff out of the way. So pretty exciting.
Okay, any other questions on the bond project? Okay, I do want to thank all the patrons that voted yes on that. Exciting to see that moving forward. Summer school.
Okay, summer school, really a rare opportunity for us. I mean, we usually do the year before, we'd always done a K through 2, right, Michael?
Correct.
We expanded that last year and went K6. This year, we're gonna go K12. High school, there's gonna be two different pieces of it. There's gonna be extension of the school year, and then there's also gonna be a credit recovery portion for those that choose to recover any credits. Middle school will be extension of the school year. High school, we're gonna have about 50. It's kind of the amount number that we're thinking. Middle school, extension of the school year, will be about 45. Elementary is kind of a regular summer school. We're gonna do some different things within that. Pretty exciting opportunity. They already have 100 of those students enrolled in that summer school. So definitely pretty exciting with that. We are looking at doing a lot of remediation, a lot of fun activities and that kind of stuff. We're hoping to complete a field trip every week, going to the zoo or somewhere like that, that kids get some social emotional time out with friends and that kind of stuff, and not make it all school, do some fun things. So that's certainly, not that school can't be fun, but certainly it's a different level going to the zoo or something like that than that.
We will have free breakfast and lunch at all locations, and we will also offer shuttle service between our elementaries to all of those locations.
Are we still offering the sack lunches?
Yeah.
at Schools?
We will have some community lunches. They'll be able to be picked up in Benton, and then also at the Wanda Primary, and more information will be coming out shortly in that.
Is that part of the Kids Eat Free program?
Well,
Similar to it?
Similar to it, however, this year it's been expanded, through all of next year. And so that will be a program that's just carrying on. But in the past, it's been part of the summer lunch program. Now everything's part of the summer lunch program, so.
Yeah, a great opportunity for families to come in and get a lunch and a breakfast and all in one day. And also our summer school programs get to eat and it's just, it's a really, really good deal.
What's kind of nice is up here at the high school too, opening that up, those that come in for sports camps or to lift weights and things like that, then they can participate in that breakfast and lunch program where they always could in the past, but going to the primary building was not always what they wanted or desired to go participate. So hopefully this will encourage some of those to have that nutritional advantage during the summer also.
And when they get done working out or whatever, they go and can get that food and then they'll eat that and they'll go home and eat again. That's what they do. But the other piece that I wanted to add to this, and kind of goes along with navigating change, the navigating change document and its full intention was for the 2021 school year. So that really exhausts May 28th. And a lot of things, move over into summer is different than the school year as far as navigating change is concerned. And I guess what I'm getting at is if the board does nothing in relationship to take any action towards any mitigation measures for summer school, then it would revert back to our original operating procedures, with the exception of maybe with summer school having smaller numbers, to be able to social distance better and those kind of things, whereas in the regular classrooms we cannot. So I guess what I'm saying there is, if masks are something that the board would like to see required during summer school, that would have to be an action taken by the board, because navigating change is exhausted primarily on May 20th. So that's kind of our thought process behind it. Like I said, navigating change was built for the 2021 school year. Of course, you don't know how that continues on, but that's any thoughts or any discussion items with that?
So can we get our feet wet before then, I guess is the question? Meaning bring something up now at this point to give a lot of the kids and patrons some hope. I mean, we've got
Remove the
schools.
mask before school's out,
Yeah.
give them a little breathing time.
Well, that's something we can discuss in navigating change.
Okay, I thought you moved on to that. So-
No, I'm in summer school, because the reason I was saying summer school is that ends on
Okay,
the
sorry.
28th. No, that's good. The 28th. And so summer school will then, either have masks or not, or optional. Of course, not means optional. I mean, in certain respects, I mean, you can wear it or not. Even in a normal year, you can provide mitigation measures for yourself if you choose to, but, so I just wanted to point that out. Any comments on summer school?
Leave it alone.
Yep. So sounds good. Make it optional, let them.
I think it would be important to make sure we communicate to the people that have signed up, that they're aware.
Oh, absolutely,
That,
absolutely.
we've reached the end of our school year, that the navigating change is no longer in place, and that in summer school, it would be a normal, classroom environment.
And so, well, social
Where-
distancing, those kind of things
Where we
would
can try to,
automatically be in place, but it's not always guaranteed to be in place.
right, so I think it'd just be important to communicate to those, especially that have already signed up, that,
Does it add more teeth if we take action, say effective June 1st, that masks are optional, or does that create other problems?
I think we just let it, if navigating change is, as it currently stands, before we get to that section of our board meeting, if it expires on the 28th, then it just goes back to.
But is there a chance that something might come up and it changes again and it's required of,
Well, it would take a board action to require it.
what if the state or the,
Well, I mean,
Health
that's a whole
department.
different, that's a whole different.
Well, in the health department and the state, recommend those actions to occur. They do. But, certainly in summer school with the idea of social distancing, you really have two mitigation measures. I mean, you have social distancing and you also have masking, and then you have both with our modified quarantine. So with social distancing, then that is achievable. That is a true mitigation measure to help prevent the spread and that kind of stuff. And the low numbers, this would certainly be welcomed for us to do that. Where we get into trouble this year was, it's almost impossible to social distance during the school day, just because it just is. I mean, kids are doing different stuff, and even then, even when you try, you can't do it. But so kind of bird walk there a little bit, but you could do it both ways. I mean, you could just let it expire and we move on. And then going back to your point, I don't know what the threshold would be to move back into it. What does that look like? Now, one of the things that I read somewhere through, and Michael, you may be able to help me out on this. Oh, it's the modified quarantine. That if your infection rate goes up above 15% in your particular building, you go back to the masking to help prevent any spreading. Now, what does that look like? I don't know, but so that kind of answers your question, maybe.
Well, and I'm also looking at these other districts that have already done this, and there has been 0 issues with quarantine. So as far as that goes with summer school, we need to go back to normal and let the kids try to get caught up on some of the education they're behind on. So, and that's getting out of mask.
And I wouldn't say 0 issues with quarantine, because we masked, we had some quarantine issues, but.
There's a lot of the districts that went back, and there's been very few issues.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I guess that's just food for thought for the agenda item on
Yep.
navigating change.
Yep.
Okay.
And so if you go to navigating changer, when we get there, summer school could be lumped into that, of course. Okay.
Okay. Moving on to exit interviews.
We will get ready to employ those exit interviews to our non-returning staff and retirees. It was asked if the board gets to see those, and that's entirely up to you as a board. We can give those to you. I don't have a problem with that. I wouldn't have a problem with your decision of doing that. However, I do have some hesitation behind that because there's some confidential things that get put in there that supervisors, I believe, are responsible to deal with, and including myself, to make sure that we deal with any shortcomings and those kind of things that we need to improve on. That's, from a board's perspective, that's what you've hired your principals and myself to do. And certainly, we will work to do that. And we almost do. If there's improvements to be made, certainly we want to look to improve those, whether it be, whatever it is. But also with some of these, as a supervisor, some of the backstory that goes with the exit interview, so you have an idea of where this person is coming from versus if a board member reads it that really doesn't know the information, good or bad. It could be, it could be good news that, I don't know about, there's still some improvements that we need to make there, so that would just be my thought. But certainly, whatever the board decides, we will give you the stack of them if you choose to.
I mean, my thinking on that, and I know, granted, we've got those people in place, but if we have a big turnover in one of our schools, what's the reason for that? And I know that you know that, but what do we need to do as far as a board to know what's going on? I mean, I'm not saying you guys you're not feeding us the correct information. I'm not saying that at all, but I guess I don't know where I want to go with this, or how I want to say it. But I think it's just something the board needs to know as far as, is there an issue on the upper side of it, or is it just we're not giving these teachers the tools to do their job correctly?
Sure.
That's where,
Sure.
As a board, I think we're at.
Yeah, and absolutely. And one of the things that I could do to subside that, or not subside it, but I could summarize that.
Yeah.
And say, okay, these are some of the common themes, and here's what we're going to work on to achieve that. Here's what we already have in place, or here's what we need to do more of. And we do that with our goals all the time. I update, maybe not so much this year because we've been focused on a lot of other different things, but update you on how are we improving, what are we doing, how are we addressing those shortcomings of whatever it is, whether it be, from programs to people to whatever. I certainly don't mind doing that. I just think that from the perspective of those individual things given to board members based on.
I mean, I don't think we need no individual things. I mean, it's just stuff that we as a board could get them, utilize tools, or if it's an administration issue, I think it's something we need to know.
I would agree
We're
with
about
that.
making it as easy on them as we can.
Because if I communicate those shortcomings and our goals, that match up to some of those things that we've got to fix or we've got to do, and we've got to put some resources to it, then it's really, for me, a fairly easier sell to say, hey, this is why we're doing what we're doing, and it costs X number of dollars. And all the time, I mean, there's always the purpose for those dollars and why we're doing what we're doing, but we can attach it to those things. So I don't have a problem summarizing those for you to let you know, what we're working on and why we're working on it, which we'll address those in our goals at the beginning of the year, which this year we did not have an opportunity to address some of those things just because we were struggling to get school started. But we'll get back to normal and be able to start doing some real things now.
I think it's important that we put our faith in our superintendent who we've hired to deal with that. I don't want to get into all the details of every custodian, bus driver, whatever that's exited and has beef or something, but
Sure.
I think, again, that's why partly why we hired you, so I think it's important that,
Yeah.
you bring any pertinent issues to us, that needs board action, but
Yeah.
I think we need to rely on your judgment on that.
Well, certainly, like I said, I don't have any issue, bringing kind of a summarize of the exit summaries or any themes that may have showed up.
I mean, just a summary, we don't need to know don't need to fine tune,
Sure.
film everything. I'm just saying a summary of what's going on, so we're kind of aware of what's going on.
Sure. Definitely not a problem. And like I said, those will go out. Carrie will send those out, and then she'll also have those that coaches and those kind of people will be administered by, that aren't employees will be administered by Mr. Kozlet. And then he'll draw those back in and then we'll get them.
Or Mr. Sherwood.
Yeah, Mr. Sherwood or Mr. Kozlet. Yep.
Any other questions on exit interviews? I think kind of having a summary of anything that stands out. Moving on to new budget timeline requirements.
Okay, I'm just learning this new process. This is fresh, this legislative session. So I'm not going to be well versed in it as of right now. I know Liz knows that I'm really nervous about the new budgeting process and the timeline for it and the requirements that go with it. And so I'll explain kind of how this works. June 15th, the county clerk notifies district of the revenue neutral rate. Now, this is brand new. So revenue neutral rate, meaning what is the amount of taxes to be levied to equal the previous year? And so they'll give us that revenue neutral rate. Then we have to turn around and estimate, are we going to exceed that or not? And my negativity around this kind of starts with, we may not even have the budget software before we're having to estimate this rate. We will have our valuation, which will help us, but we may have to jump high on this and then come back down to our normal mill levy where, because our mill levy is going to stay flat. We'll make sure of that, just like we have in the previous years. So then we have to notify the county clerk not to exceed the tax rate by July 20th, and then July 21st through August 20th, we'll publish the notice to exceed the revenue. And it gets confusing because, like I said, I'm new at this too, but so we have to publish that to exceed the revenue, which in our district, in most districts in Kansas, will exceed revenue neutral because valuation increases, tax levies and those kind of things will exceed last year's tax amounts. What's that?
Every year.
Every year.
Yeah.
So we'll have to estimate high. And so beginning in 2022, you'll receive a tax statement and it'll say, well, this is where the district is estimating it. And it's maybe a little bit more than what it was in the previous year from a total mill levy perspective. And you'll be like, whoa, hold on a second. Well, that's not really true. We just have to, because if whatever number we turn into the county is the number we're going to get. Not the number we're going to get, but we can't go higher than that. We can't go higher than that. So we'll have to estimate high, and that's what every district in the state is probably going to do. So then the next timeline is the 21st through the 20th. We'll have to hold our hearing. We always hold our budget hearing. We can hold the budget hearing and the revenue exceeding neutral hearing on the same time. So typically, depending on where it falls, we'll hold it on the same as the board night. Sometimes we'll hold it separately depending on the budget process. And then September 20th, we have to submit our budget to KSDE. Now, that is a month later than normal, but all these other timelines are quicker than normal when we may not even have our budget software yet. Now, that's in a typical year. If the legislature finishes up quick with their formulas and those kind of things, and KSDE can put all that budget software and put it out together and send it out to us on June 5th, then we might be able to make those tight deadlines. So we're gonna see how all this works out. I'll keep you posted. The budget process before and the timeline, I knew like the back of my hand, I knew exactly when things were supposed to go. And so this is it's just new. And we'll get there. It won't be an issue. But one of the things that I'll want to do prior to beginning in 2022 is educate our taxpayers to say, now, just so you know, we're going to estimate this. It's not going to be your actual mill levy. It's just going to be an estimate. And by the way, we will, in 2022, when we send this out the next budget year, we'll be required to pay the postage to send those exceeding revenue neutral amounts out to every taxpayer. Which it's, for us, we're not going to exceed the mill levy. I mean, we're going to keep it steady like we have the last few years. But anyway, any questions?
If you don't exceed it for whatever reason, then you wouldn't have to know. Like,
Correct.
we looked at it and went,
Correct.
look, we'll just leave it where it is.
Right. Which,
I don't know why we would do
we
that.
won't, because of the fact that, with the bond and interest and those kind of things, we'll take advantage to keep our zero mill levy increase for the bond. We have to exceed revenue neutral. I mean, there's just no question about that. So that won't be an issue, I don't think, but let me know if you have any questions on it. I'm not saying that I'll be able to answer it right now for you, but I certainly would, find the answer. But this is brand new for Liz, myself, and we'll figure it all
For everybody in the state.
out. Do what?
For everybody in the state, for all the.
Exactly, yeah, absolutely. So I'll keep you posted on all those new dates.
I'm sure there's just way too many questions to even ask them right now, so we're just gonna go with it. Unless somebody really has a question to ask. Moving on to special meeting reminder for bond business.
So as Steve and Brett Sjogren, they had mentioned for the sale of bonds, once we get our rating, they'll send it to market. And then I believe on the 19th, they will sell those bonds, and we can have a meeting on the 19th in the evening to approve the sale of those bonds, or the 20th for a new meeting to approve the sale of bonds after they've been put out to market. Now, the reason there's such a quick window is that's locking in the best possible interest rate you can based on when the market is open. So, is there a preference you'd rather have, the 19th of the evening or noon on the 20th?
I can do either. I can do either.
I'm obviously flexible.
Hey, when do you want to do it?
As long as we can zoom in, I can make.
And you can, it'll be a 10, 15 minute deal probably, just to,
When you say evening, like would a 5 o'clock in case there's rec softball?
I would think you probably better do around lunch, if you, whatever we
do
do.
the 20th at noon.
Yeah, just, I think it's gonna be a lot
What's
easier for
Casey
people.
What's Casey, yeah, Casey got an opinion?
Casey, is the 20th at noon work for you?
I can make anything work.
Okay, so I guess we'll do the 20th at noon.
Okay. I will let them know in the morning, and they can start preparing for that. The only reason that meeting would not work on that particular day is if we don't get the rating back and the marketing piece slows down, but we really feel like or they feel like that's gonna work fine.
You will send out a reminder email, I'm assuming.
I'll text you.
Thank you, Don.
But yeah, I'll send it out on Friday update too, just a reminder of that meeting.
So we're talking Thursday, May 20th, right? At noon.
Yes, at noon.
noon. Got
And then the 19th, we'll need you in the afternoon.
it. Got it on my calendar.
Perfect.
Okay, moving on to navigating change.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say, I have appreciated our staff, our students, our parents, our administrators, everybody, it has been a tough year. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it, and for everyone. So I'd like to say, thank you to everybody's extra work. I mean, in the board, you guys have made some very, very difficult decisions this year, and certainly, I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity not to go through it, don't get me wrong, but that we were able to stay in person, that we were able to do the things that were necessary for us to educate kids. There's, without a doubt, we know there's some learning loss because of this, not only because of this school year, but also from March to May last year. And we did incorporate a K-6 summer school last year, regardless, and it was okay, but it was really meant for more social emotional pieces than anything. But I just wanted to say thank you to that, and our staff and students have done what's expected of them, and certainly we're very appreciative of that, and I can't say enough about all our people, including our parents. So that being said, I guess we can continue the conversation that you had mentioned before.
Well, I'm just looking at data and districts and around the county and things like that. And this thing is pretty much on the downhill side and moving away quickly. And for the students and the parents, I would love, the last couple of weeks, that's 2 weeks, just get them back, no mask. So we got some hope next year, and try to unite the district again, because we are so divided right now. And I know, in Benton here a few weeks ago, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we had the Benton Day celebration. There was people everywhere. It was the greatest thing ever for our little town in, over a year. We had stuff at the grade school. Kids enjoyed it, kids running around. So if we think that kids aren't interacting afterwards, we're out of our mind, because they are. I mean, my kids right now are at baseball practice with other kids from other districts. And I just want to give some hope to a lot of the parents, a lot of the kids, to get away from this, knowing that we're done with this and over it and moving on. And I'd love to hear.
Oh, I agree. Everybody is tired, beyond tired. We've done it, I mean, not just this year, but like you said, spring, parents, you guys were teaching your own kids. It's things that we've never experienced before. I think everybody did a great job. I just think the fear needs to go away. Respect, if you want to wear your mask, please go ahead and wear your mask. It's fine, but let those that don't want to do the masks anymore. We've taken, we did the, survey, thank you. We heard what they said. We decided against it, still, being a little nervous with graduation, prom, okay, that's over with, the graduation's coming up soon. I agree, we need to relax, breathe, and let the little kids know that there's,
Light at the end of the tunnel.
light at the end of the tunnel. And the parents need to have that too. Just my thought.
I'm definitely comfortable with saying June 1st forward mask option.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a motion that says that adds teeth to it. My concern, I guess one of my concerns is right at the end of the year, how many athletic activities are we putting at risk? State ranked soccer, baseball doing well, softball doing well, track, all those, tennis. Don't want to leave anybody out, golf, whatever. But bowling, are we putting any of them at risk at missing their senior final thing, you know?
But they're out there playing right now without masks on.
Right, but if we're increasing their exposure,
But Ben, in some of those schools have already been out without masks and they're
Right.
bringing their kids.
I'm not arguing that.
I'm not
I'm not arguing
just trying to
that,
make sure we're seeing the big picture of everything. both
With-
sides.
I'm just, that's my only
That's your
concern.
opinion.
That's my,
Right.
that's the only view I'm saying.
Right.
It's still a concern of mine. Moving forward, definitely, I think, you know, like I said, June 1st going forward, I think it ought to be mask optional.
But what about the little ones that aren't worrying about their athletic games and everything?
They're the ones
You know?
suffering the most.
They're the ones that are crying and, you know, I've been witnessing, because I've been visiting some of the schools, you know, and
Every kid's different, you know, my grandkids aren't struggling with it, but every kid's different, some kids are, so I get that, totally get that, so.
and that's why I think the option to wear it is great, you know, go ahead and wear it if that makes you feel safer, you know, I have no problem with that. But it shouldn't be all or none, you know. I guess that's my opinion.
What's our timeline for the rest of the year?
Timeline,
School timeline.
last day of school is the 27th, and the 28th is a teacher workday. There's, not counting today, I believe there's 13 days of actual school left.
Seniors are done when?
It would be done at, I
20
don't have the calendar in front of me.
The 21st.
Yeah,
So if we made it the senior last day to open it all up, to give them some hope,
So basically the last week of school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and give the pre-K through 6 now the option to come back without it. I mean, they're suffering through all this. I mean, and there's no reason, they're not gonna miss anything. I mean, heck, we won't even know if they get it, according to a lot of the CDC comments.
I'm just thinking logistics here. So I'm gonna throw this, I guess, you and Michael. So let's say we pick a date and we go mask optional. There are parents in our district that would probably not want to have their kids come to school at that point. Possibly. How would we address those students?
The same way we've already addressed them.
I know, but we're going from like the 50 to 60 that we have, but we could have more. And what I'm saying is, so let's say we say the last week of school is mask optional or whatever date it is. Like, if they choose to stay home, like, how would that go against like their attendance at school with?
no, I mean, they would, if they chose to stay home, we would have to offer remote education for those students who chose to stay home. I mean,
I mean, but how
certainly
many
it
of those
could
kids would come
increase,
back?
it could increase, of course, you never know, I mean, I'm just.
Right, and it may not affect it at all.
It could increase, it could not change it, it could,
Right.
who knows, I mean.
I guess I'm just putting this spin on the perspective of the teachers, that we all know they've had a rough year. They've done a fabulous job teaching, and I know that, there's been statements made in our meetings about, let the teachers teach. And the feedback I've gotten on that is, well, what do they think we've been doing? Like, they have been teaching this whole time. Yes, everybody would love to not have masks, and maybe that's where we're leaning towards. But what about those students that still want to have masks? Do we then have to keep them separated, like in the classrooms? And I'm just thinking logistics for, like, within an individual's classroom. And then let's say they do have 3 students that go remote. Are we then asking them to synchronized teaching again. So I think those are just things that we need to think, and I'm not trying to micromanage, I just think we need to understand that at the end of a rough school year, we may be asking teachers now for the last 2 weeks to add more to their plate.
I think some teachers would be glad to take off their masks. Not all teachers are happy that the masks
I
are on.
understand.
And it's no different than if a child didn't want to wear a mask and he or she's been offered, okay, go home and we will remote teach you because you're not wanting to wear a mask in class. So it works both ways.
I know, I'm just trying to talk through it.
Sure, and I'm
And,
trying to explain it too.
and with all due respect to all the teachers and the faculty, they've done a heck of a good job. I'm not taking that away from anybody. But on the same hand, we've also got to listen to the 67% of the students that spoke out on that survey. We didn't last month. I understand there wasn't enough data in some of the board's eyes, but we're a month further along now.
Well,
We're just trying to give some hope.
And let me expand on, because my stance last month, obviously, I knew somebody died the day before from COVID. He was 64, so he wasn't even eligible for the vaccine until April 17th. Okay, so, I just couldn't feel comfortable saying, yeah, at this point. The numbers numbers since, what, the first part of March or middle of March have stayed fairly flat. I guess we've a little uptick in Butler County, but statewide, they're continuing to go down, nationwide, they're continuing to go down. So, and I think, part of that's vaccine, part of that's, immunity, whatever. Hopefully that's continues, and obviously we're not gonna say, so-and-so has to take the vaccine or whatever. That's totally up to the individual, but at this point, everybody's got the option. Now, they can't have fully exercised that option yet. So I guess that's partly still a little reservation there. That's why I was saying June 1st. But I also understand your argument. Personally, I would be, as a compromise, I would say I'd be comfortable with the last week. Gives the teachers a little bit of time to prepare and maybe create a really positive transition. I don't know. Would
you be opposed to the little kids pre-K through 6 going back now? Just knowing that, I read a CDC statistic, and I think I sent it to one of the board members at the last meeting. There has been 52 children deaths in the U.S. over COVID. In 2018, when they had the most valid data for the flu, we had 630 something children pass away due to the flu. So, this isn't affecting the kids. Now we've got the vaccine for the adults. So that's kind of why I'm bringing this up again, because, we're moving forward. And I know it's there, the light's there, and I would like to see just to give a little bit of hope and bring the community back together, because I'm out in it, and I know Christy's out, she's been out and seeing the same thing, and it is very, very divided.
It's a political issue, there's no doubt.
Definitely right.
Sure.
And and the way everything's handled, it creates further division. Of course, relating to the flu, flu this season's been minimal because they think, and again, it's what they think. So, and everybody's gonna have different opinions on it, but they think it's because all the mitigation from COVID has reduced the flu spread.
Absolutely.
But again, I'm not saying that's the case or not, but
But we're always gonna have some germs, we're not a germ-free
Yeah.
world.
Again, I think if you say now, I would say if you want to do K6 on the 17th, again, give the teachers a little bit of time and staff and everybody, a little bit of time a few days to go ahead and work out the transition. Do K6. Now I'm just talking, tell me feedback, because I'm talking out loud here. Do the 17th for pre-K6, 24th for the rest of the district. I don't know. Give me feedback.
What preparation do the schools need to do to make this happen? As far as principals, teachers, to get these kids to transition into this appropriately, like Ben
Well,
said.
we want to make sure everybody obviously is informed. I mean, we wouldn't want a staff member enforcing something that isn't there. The other thing too is to prepare for any possibilities of change in modes of education. And that is concerning to me, without a doubt, that when we talk about educating kids and those kind of things, and we have the majority of them back in person currently under the mitigation measures. Is that going to change? I don't know. It may not. It may not. If we move forward, I hope it doesn't, and then we're able to. But it does change their mode of education, which obviously affects their education. There's no doubt about that. And you can say, yes, it affected the ones that chose to go remote before. So that is concern. The other concern that I have, and just making sure that we educate, is if there's a person that's maskless, or a class is maskless, the Butler County Health Department, if one comes down with it, they're all quarantined.
Into that class, correct?
In that class and any other class that they've crossed over into, there would be that. And that we have no control over. That's concerning to me. It's concerning from the level of, even if, half the soccer team is in a class together, and that comes down to happen. Those are hard conversations to have, and we fought those. I mean, we've talked to plenty of parents, so, well, I'm sorry, you have to quarantine. And I would just hope that our teachers and principals and those kind of people, if we do this, would receive immunity for ridicule for quarantining students and turning those names in, because that's hard. That's
I
really
think
hard.
we're willing to take the risk for the last 2 weeks. I mean, the kids would honestly, this is gonna make their whole rest of their year. I mean, they can go out and see kids they have not gonna see
And I was just
all
sharing,
year. No,
sharing my concerns.
I
That's all.
understand, it is a concern, but I'm willing to take the risk at this point.
And just so you guys know, going on that high risk and low risk scenario there, we did send out about 40 low risk letters last week that we did not have to quarantine those kids, that they would have been in the high risk situation. Those 40 would have been quarantined this last week.
So, I mean, honestly, those both scenarios that I mentioned are they're scary for me.
So here's my next question. Moving forward next year, is this all a wash then? I mean,
What?
the quarantines, all that, are we gonna have to come back and battle this all next year and listen to whatever the health department and everybody tells us? When we've had the shot available to everybody.
Certainly, I don't know what the future what the future holds for those particular organizations. I have heard, we all hear different things, right? But I had heard by the first part of July, they feel like that the vaccination level would be up enough that we move on. That's what I've heard. Now, can we guarantee that, or can I tell you what I predict the future on that? I can't. I do know that I think we're heading towards a good course of normal. I can tell you that.
Hope you're right.
Yeah. The one thing about
That's my
vaccines
optimistic
and
point of view.
one thing about the vaccines, and I'm not saying people should or should not, that's totally up to them, but 2 weeks after your second shot, you don't have to quarantine. So, hopefully there, that influences the amount of quarantine that has to go on. I know there's a lot of concern about kids getting vaccines. I know that Pfizer, today approved a little bit, for what, 12, 15,
12 and up, yeah.
12 and up. But again, that's totally individual parent's choice.
And then that would be no different than the flu.
Flu shots, other kind of shots, so.
Well, I'd like to bring a motion to the floor then. And I motion that pre-K through 6 comes back May 17th. Mask optional. And then the 7 through 12 comes back May 24th, mask optional.
I second it. Here we have a motion of math optional pre-K through 6, beginning May 17th. And then 7th through 12th would be math optional beginning May 24th. Is there any other discussion at this time? Okay. All those in favor of the motion? Casey? Okay. All those opposed? Casey, are you abstaining?
The response you have to say is the same.
Okay.
I said aye to the negative.
Okay, thank you. We just didn't hear you. Motion passed on a vote 4-1.
Thank you, parents, for being so cooperative through all this. So we appreciate every one of you.
Okay,
Little clarification, what does that mean for staff in those buildings? What is the board's desire on that? Just so we can communicate that.
Say optional as well. I mean, let's move on. Let's get past this.
I don't think that it said students or whoever, I think it said those grade levels, mask optional. That's the way I interpreted it.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
And there may be some logistical things as we move forward, especially with the variances of dates, which, if you have, and I, you know, you guys pay me to think this way, you know, if we have a 6th grader on the bus with a 7th grader, and one is masked, the other one is not, do we, you know, where they would intermingle, do we just require during that time frame masks on the bus? Or do we not worry about that?
I mean, leave it to the parents. Leave it to the parents.
Well, there's policies that you guys just passed that we have to follow. And so I want to make sure that I do that. And like I said, you pay me to do those things. And I know it can be technical, but I certainly want to make sure that we do your will. That's just one example that we may have some other things that hopefully we're allowed, because we're not going to be able to come up with executive decisions from the board's perspective, allow some latitude during that week.
Do you just say buses for the week of the 17th through the 21st still requires masks because of the intermingling?
If there's crossover,
Then
sure.
I don't have a strong preference one way or the other, but
I'm telling you, these kids are walking out of this place and they're intermingling everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's at a bus, at Ben Day,
I
at
understand that.
Can
Ball
we
fields?
suggest they mask set with masks and, you know, do the,
Well, yeah, I mean,
I would say just follow what we passed. If they're K through 6,
age
beginning
level,
the
grade level.
17th, they are mask or optional. And if they're 7 through 12, then that week they would wear the mask on the bus.
Okay.
That you would just follow what the policy was that we passed. So,
Okay.
and then we're just gonna have to trust you and Michael and our building administrators, because there's going to be some decisions that have to be made, and we also need to listen to the teachers to find out their thoughts on what needs to happen. And we just, as a community, need to trust that they're gonna do what's best for the students.
and they will.
So,
Got good staff.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely.
I think the majority of the staff is just as over it as everybody else. It will make their jobs a lot easier than trying to police this issue. So
I will.
I'm excited. Thank you, everybody.
I'll speak for, you know, teachers and principals and everybody. I mean, it's been a ton of work. I mean, every event we have, everything we have, I mean, it's always, you know, trying to make sure that you fit inside the rules. Okay,
there is no old business at this time, so we are moving on to new business, high school handbook changes.
included in your book is, or your packet are the changes to the 21-22 high school handbook. A little bit of a schedule change there. and then some language change, and then also changing the dual credit classes from $24 to $34.25 at Butler.
What generated that increase?
I'm not for sure from Butler's perspective.
I mean, it's their, it's cost,
It's their cost.
it's their, okay, it's not our cost, something's
No.
costing us more, it's costing, okay.
Correct. Yeah, it's their cost increase that. And actually, that has increased even this year, just when they made the switch, it was already, the handbooks were already done, so. So this is, kind of a year old. So I would ask for a motion to approve the handbook changes.
I had a question on the second page of the summary, on page 4. Where it says half unit during senior year, and now it's moving to half unit if necessary during senior year. What,
So basically, if they don't need that particular, English elective during their senior year, they would be required to have that
like if
half
they
unit.
had already taken 2 other electives
Right, and
previously,
so
they would,
only if necessary would they need to take that half unit.
okay. Because they're not required to take like an English 4 or a,
No,
it's just the English elective.
the Kansas Board of Regents 4 credits, and it doesn't have to be,
English 4.
yeah, if you could squeeze it in between your freshman and sophomore year, you could certainly do that. Not wise,
Okay.
but certainly you could do
Okay.
all that.
So if they're able to do it and not have to do English their senior year, more power to them.
Correct.
And I think that language just opens up more opportunities for kids as they're trying to plan their senior year and opportunities that they have.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions on the high school handbook? If not, I seek a motion to approve the high school handbook changes as presented. So moved by Christie,
Second.
by Jen. All those in favor?
Aye, Casey.
Thank you. Motion passed 5-0. BFR engagement letter.
Included in your packet once again is Busby Ford Reimer engagement letter for the audit that we do every year. This is basically what he comes to report to you about our financial procedures. So it's just an agreement that we're going to do it with them again this year.
Have we been paying them, I'm sorry, monthly? Did I read that? If we're gonna
I'm not for
charge
sure. I think
each
we,
month as work progresses?
I think we pay them.
Yeah, but we don't pay them monthly.
Okay, I was gonna say, we pay them full,
We just pay them.
okay.
Guess maybe they just give us that option of
Get it over with.
or something.
Yeah, and there are some districts that pay them, I think, by the month, but we just pay them, and we don't get those bills monthly, they just send us an invoice yearly and we pay them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, I will seek a motion to approve the BFR engagement letter as presented.
So moved.
By Jake. Second. By Christie. All those in favor?
Aye, Casey.
Motion passed 5-0. Moving on to KASB membership.
Every year, we enter into a membership agreement with Kansas Association of School Boards. Typically, we have not taken advantage of their season pass, that's professional development, in various aspects that you could go for free as board members. Certainly, you know, it's a $1,500 deal. You can choose to include that in our membership fee or not. That's one of the invoices, and then the other one is for, basically, legal services assistance, throughout the school year. So I recommend that we approve that, just as we have every other year.
Option one with.
Option one.
With legal services,
Mhm.
I agree.
Any other questions on the KSB membership?
I'll just make a motion that we renew with option one, membership renewal and the legal fees.
Motion by Ben,
Second.
second by Christie. All those in favor?
I, Casey.
Motion passed 5-0. Tractor purchase, I'm guessing this is Michael's.
Yep.
So the primary purpose of the tractor purchase would be to drag and to work on the baseball softball complex. It would have many secondary purposes with snow removal and potentially mowing and things like that. Our current drag that we're using down there is a 1999 drag, and it just isn't doing the purpose anymore. And so one of the things we talked about earlier when we were talking about transportation and buses, the supply line for a small tractor right now is really hard to come by. And so I wanted to get approval from the board. There was some that I could have locked down last week, but I hadn't been to the board yet. And they're so tight on them that until I have approval to go ahead and purchase those, they're not ready to promise that to me. And so I would like to go ahead and get approval for that purchase, and then I will work with the dealers. We'll start as local as we can, and then work out from there to try to get approval for the purchase of that small tractor.
Since I just ordered a tractor Saturday, I assume you're getting like industrial tires and not the agricultural tires, so that it'll not chew up turf and stuff as bad. And
Most likely, that would be something I would want to work with our grounds people and make sure I got what they would like. But yes, I think that probably makes sense.
how much are you looking at?
I would like to not to exceed 19,000. I think it would be below that. But again, with everything being in the market and not for sure if I can get, looking at a Kubota 2601 would come in a little under that. But if I have to change gears and go to like a John Deere or something like that,
Is that a gear driver or hydrostat?
that is a hydrostat.
Does that come with the implements that you need, or is that something we're gonna have to come back to the board to get the implement?
The one drag that we would probably utilize would fall well under kind of what we would normally spend just on purchase. And so that would not be something I would need to come back to the board necessarily to purchase a smaller implement. However, it would be close to that potential total number anyway.
Would they give a better deal with like a snow removal blade or something, if that's what you guys are gonna utilize it for as well? I'm just thinking outside the box, so if you get a better deal up front, maybe it's worth.
They didn't give, they gave a discount on the first implement.
No, really?
Yeah. And so, you know, with the ability, I could look at some opportunities there to do that. And that's kind of where I set that limit not to exceed when we'll get the best deal we can.
And you are looking local, you said?
Do what?
You're looking local, you said?
We will look as local as we can and then branch out from there to see how far out I need to go. You know, if a local can trade for it, that would be what I'd like to do.
You need more than 19,000, like if you try to add in any implements.
I think, you know, the motion is for the tractor purchase. I think that will for sure do the tractor purchase.
Okay.
And we'll work, you know, around from there.
And just like any other time, I mean, some of the bigger purchases, we come to the board, but, you know, the implements and those kind of things, as long as it's not too pricey, we can fit that within our budget without coming to the board for approval.
Is that got like a front loader on it or just the drag?
That is with the front loader.
Okay.
Yeah, that includes that.
And say if you get one, it's got the quick attach and stuff on the front.
It has a quick attach on it already on the pricing that I've gotten. Now,
You're
what I
way in
find
the weeds there.
may not have that.
I'm just, you know, I just did this Saturday. so-
There's interest.
You're way in those weeds.
I'm launching at the bit for my tractor to come in here in about 3 weeks, so.
Well, that's good.
So we can borrow yours if I have if I get behind on.
What is my hourly rate? Let's see.
It sounds like we have a volunteer for snow removal.
Right?
I know.
It's got a cab, right?
No, it does not.
This one does not either.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions or discussions regarding the compact tractor? If not, I seek a motion to approve the purchase of a compact tractor not to exceed $19,000.
So moved.
By Ben,
I'll second that.
second by Jake. All those in favor?
I, Casey.
Motion passed 5-0. SB 40 hearing officer appointment. You can fill us in on that.
Yeah, SB 40 requires a hearing officer, in case we need to use that at any given time, we need to appoint an officer, to that role. We have, kind of a resolution prepared by KSP to do that would require signatures from the board that basically says, here's the hearing officer, here's the person's name. And I would, we can do two different things. We can do a hearing officer, or we can approve a committee, which would be the board to hear those cases, if there are any. Mr. Jansen always does our hearing for food service, for, discipline, that kind of stuff. So we would just include him in that, not only right now, but any future hearings that would occur in 2-5 years from now, whatever. So we'll do that in an organizational meeting next year as well. So just kind of a formality to ensure we have that.
Is there any other questions regarding the appointment of Mr. Jansen to our SB 40 hearing
Yeah.
officer?
She's got the resolution that you guys can read and make sure that you're aware of that. And then she has the formal copy there that you can, in case we can get you a copy of this as well, if you'd like to see it. Basically just reaffirms the fact that we're appointing a SB 40 hearing officer.
And Michael, you've agreed to it, right, if we approve it?
Sure.
Okay, I seek a motion to approve Michael Jansen as our SB 40 hearing officer. So moved by Christie. Second by
Second.
Ben. All those in favor?
I, Casey.
Motion passed 5-0. Sorry, my inflection went the wrong direction on that motion.
That is the duties as assigned. So
Yeah, that was it.
Can you repeat, the motion?
Oh, my, yes.
Motion by
Christie,
seconded by
Ben.
Ben.
Thank you,
5-0.
thank you.
And I believe we are needing an executive session at this
Yes.
time.
Let's try 15 minutes.
Did you give him his speech?
I don't know if you can get through that or not. This is in that place and that's in that place.
Mr. President, I move we go into executive session to discuss legal matters pursuant to a attorney-client privilege exception under COMA and Kansas Open Meetings Act. And open meeting will resume here at the high school at 8:15.
8:05.
8:01. 8:05.
8:05, that'll work.
All right.
And joining us in the executive session will be Mr. Potter, Mr. Jansen, and our attorney.
Okay, we will be back on the
Give me a
line.
second and vote.
Oh, yeah,
sorry.
sorry. You
Second.
motioned, Christie seconded. I'm glad you're paying attention, Ben.
I'm sorry.
Motion, Casey?
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Did you
Aye,
vote
Casey.
aye?
I, yeah.
5-0.
Thank you.
I just feel like I lost total control.
Okay, I am going to stop the live stream. We'll be back at